rookie Shedeur Sanders. He becomes the first Browns quarterback since 1995 to win their first start as a rookie. We watched his pregame interview. We watched his postgame interview. A lot of people have issues with what he said in his postgame interview. And it really a lot of people, it came off as arrogant, came off as, not much humility, not much appreciation, just a kid who's very arrogant and full of himself. And as far as like what people are saying, I don't think Cleveland wants him there. I don't think Stefanski, I don't think GM Andrew Berry, those guys at Cleveland, they do not want Shedeur Sanders on the team. And with that thought, I'm just wondering, why did you draft him? Why? You didn't have to draft Shedeur Sanders. You didn't have to. After you drafted Dillon Gabriel, you didn't have to go and draft Shedeur Sanders. If you didn't like him, if you thought he wasn't that good, why'd you draft him? That's the part that escapes my mind when it comes to the situation. Sanders went 11 for 20, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, did it blow us away? No. The numbers didn't blow us away. But what we noticed was just the energy, the juice, the downfield passing. The 53-yard bomb to Isaiah Bond almost going for a touchdown. We haven't seen that from the Browns in this entire season, really. Joe Flacco, maybe. We didn't see it from Gabriel. We didn't see, shots down the field like that. We didn't see a lot of it. The Browns season is over. It's about evaluating these young quarterbacks to figure out who can you trust going forward to be the future of your franchise at that quarterback position. There's a lot of talk about Shedeur not getting reps and all that stuff. I get all of that. Backups, 5th round picks, rookies who are QB3, QB4, they may not get a ton of reps. But the fact that he looked so unprepared last week against the Ravens when he was thrown in there, it just kind of made a lot of people question what's going on in Cleveland. And then he goes in the postgame and says, hey, look, here's what happens when you give me a full week of practice. Let's see what happens when I get more reps and more practice. He played a decent enough game to win. Now, I know it was against the Vegas Raiders. It's a really bad football team. Well, Cleveland's not that good of a team, so which one is it going to be? People were complaining about, his pass was 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. We're talking about the pass that went for 60-plus yards and before a touchdown. And I'm like, well, are we really going to start nitpicking here? We didn't do that with Dillon Gabriel, so why are we nitpicking with Shedeur Sanders? We can't just be happy for him that he won his first NFL game, like in his first start. It just always seems like there's this extra stuff with Shedeur Sanders because of maybe who his dad is, because of how he comes off. I always find it weird, when people root for someone to fail. I don't get it. Like we're living in a world where it's like we're questioning if an NFL team is sabotaging a quarterback. It doesn't make any sense to me. But the feeling that I get just watching the game, watching some of the post-game stuff that I'm seeing circulating around the internet, it just feels like the Browns don't even want him there. But if you watch the sidelines after Shedeur made that bomb down the field to Isaiah Bond, look at Myles Garrett, your best player, the guy that is probably the only reason that the Cleveland Browns get talked about outside of Shedeur Sanders. Let's call it what it is. Shedeur Sanders brings attention to the Cleveland Browns. Like, you can hate him, you can not like him, but you can't deny the fact that he brings star power to the Cleveland Browns. He makes people want to talk about the Cleveland Browns in the NFL because they are not a good football team. They haven't been a good football team in forever. Since maybe Baker Mayfield's playoff run in 2020 or whatever year that was. They haven't been a very good football team. You have this monster, Myles Garrett, who, by the way, 14 sacks in the last 5 games. It's insane. But my point is, that guy had the reaction that he had to Sanders playing. There's no way that you can go back to Dillon Gabriel. And Kevin Stefanski recently came out and said that Shedeur Sanders will be starting going forward. And the thing is, you had to make that decision. There was no way you could go back to Dillon Gabriel after winning the game and Shedeur looking the way that he looks. Now, again, it wasn't spectacular. I get it. It wasn't like he threw for 300 yards, lighting it up. He was playing the Vegas Raiders. Let's see how he looks against the San Francisco 49ers. I get it. But my thing is, if you're Cleveland, at this point in the season, you're trying to figure out who the future is of your franchise at the quarterback position. The most important position that people tell me in sports, all of sports. People always tell me the quarterback position is the most important. If you don't have that figured out, you aren't going to win. From a football perspective, I think this was the right decision by Kevin Stefanski to start Shedeur Sanders going forward. It was good that he finally got a chance, and he showed that he at least can compete at the NFL level. I'm not saying that this game tells me that he's going to be a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that this was a positive step in the right direction for a 5th-round pick who everyone said he had first-round talent. This is a step in the right direction for the Cleveland Browns, for Shedeur Sanders. And look, in the end, if it's still not enough for Stefanski and the Browns, let him go. Trade him. Release him. You don't have to have him on your team if you don't want him there. And the feeling that I get is that Cleveland just flat out does not want Shedeur Sanders on their team.